All right, it says that we are live. Awesome. I'm going to be responding to your comments that you have left me, see if I can give you some encouragement, um, some education, spread some awareness about the symptoms that you're going through of depersonalization, realization, anxiety, panic, and associated symptoms. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. Thank you so much for taking the time to comment too, by the way. And I'm very busy. I don't have time to respond to most of them, but that's why I'm doing this to increase the chances that I'll be able to respond to them and just kind of respond to a lot of them at once. Um, this person says, my depersonalization realization makes me feel like my whole history has been erased. It's interesting that you say that because that's exactly how I felt too. But I'll tell you, it's not the DPDR that's making it feel like your family's history has been erased. Depersonalization, realization are part of a trauma state. That's a state of overwhelming stress in the nervous system. And once you reach a state of traumatic stress, your memory starts to transition from registering as explicit narrative based memory. That's where you'd be able to remember things easily, especially as it relates to remembering a beginning, middle, and end. And it transitions to implicit procedural memory, which is essentially going to mean that you can just remember bits and pieces, or you may not be able to remember anything at all. And I remember being around family members that I had obviously a long history with. And I remember viewing them devoid of that history was one of the weirdest things that I have ever experienced in my entire life. And it felt just like you said. It was like, you know, the pages of history had just been torn out of the history books. And it was one of the most bizarre, weird feelings because it's like I knew their physical appearance, but I didn't have an emotional connection to them, nor did I remember the history with them. So it just led to this weird, bizarre feeling. It's just impossible to describe. You said family I've known for years feels like I have no idea who they are. Familiar places feel unfamiliar, and it feels like someone's controlling my movements, like a puppet master or something. So it sounds like, derealization is there. That's where everything feels off. Everything feels super dreamlike, fake. That's a dissociative symptom. That's your brain trying to dissociate or separate you because there's so much stress, particularly traumatic, overwhelming stress, that your brain thinks that you're being eaten by a lion, and it's trying to create some distance between you and the material world and also you and your body, which is depersonalization. Just in case you're being eaten by a lion, you won't feel it as much. So that's basically what happened. Feels like someone's controlling my movements, like a puppet master or something. I was even convinced that I had a brain tumor. So, yeah, there's also a lot of rational fears because whenever your body is in such a severe state of fight, flight, freeze, your prefrontal cortex, which is logical, critical, creative, contextual thinking, starts to be diminished in functionality. And you go into survival brain, which includes a lot of catastrophic thinking. And so my brain used to tell me that too. What if you have a brain tumor? What if you have epilepsy? What if you are becoming psychotic? What if you're going crazy? All of those fears used to dominate my mind. I was even convinced I had a brain tumor and was suffering with epilepsy. Yeah. So there you go. So I had this catastrophic thought that what if my first panic attack where I started to experience DVDR was actually an epileptic seizure, and it terrified me. I had that fear for a long time. MRIs, blood work, and CT all came back normal, just scary all around. So there you go. There's the cycle. People are having these otherworldly, scary existential symptoms. They feel super detached. They can't think, can't concentrate. Memory is thrown off sometimes. Time feels distorted. Don't recognize people. Don't even recognize themselves in the mirror sometimes. Sometimes, but not always. There's severe panic attacks, severe anxiety. And despite all that, the doctors still will say that there's nothing wrong. And so it's just so hard for people to wrap their mind around that. I've got a client right now, actually. He's like, man, it's so hard to believe that all these symptoms are coming from just simply the buildup of stress. And what I told him is I was like, yeah, but it's not just the buildup of stress. It's traumatic stress. It's literally so much stress in your body and nervous system that your brain thinks that you're about to be eaten by a lion. And so you're experiencing really death symptoms. Now, don't let that scare you. It doesn't mean that you're dying, but your brain thinks that you're dying. And so that's why I tell people this is not anxiety alone. Now, a lot of times trauma symptoms include fight or flight symptoms, which is what we call anxiety. But there's also a deep state of trauma where there is no fight or flight symptoms at all, and you're just completely numb and dissociated. And you can be experiencing DPDR, other trauma symptoms without any fight or flight symptoms. So, but with that being said, it's not just anxiety. This is a totally different branch of the nervous system. It's the dorsal vagal branch, the parasympathetic nervous system, totally different severity and experience. It's so much more than just anxiety. Not saying anxiety is not severe and difficult. Of course it is. I went through it for 15 years. My God, it'll destroy your life. But once you enter a trauma state, everything changes. Everything changes. But yet, they go to the doctor and they get all these scans. They get EKGs and CT scans and this thing and that thing and blood work done. It's like the doctors are just scratching their head like, I don't see anything wrong with you. And then that just further fuels this frustration. It's almost like people would, and I've talked to people that are like this, and I used to be the same way whenever I was suffering. Like, it's almost like they would rather have a disease because at least they would know what the hell is going on. But to have all of these symptoms and no tests show anything is so frustrating. But that is why education is paramount. Because even though you most likely don't have a disease, right? And, get checked out, right? But even though you don't have a disease, you do have a very, very overwhelmed nervous system to the point that your brain thinks that you are being eaten by a lion. So, and it's usually the accumulation of stress over time, which is complex trauma. So with that being said, let's go on to the next comment. Okay, this person, Julian0714 says, what about when you don't remember clearly the periods in your life when you were not in a trauma state, the periods that you were okay and that you had positive emotions, but now you find it very hard to even remember those times? Is that normal with depersonalization realization? Hold on a second. Almost out of water. Yeah, this is one of the most terrifying things that people experience is they're like, I don't even remember what normal feels like. So how could I ever feel normal again if I don't even remember what normal feels like? They've been stuck in symptoms for so long, and DPDR and all the associated symptoms, basically just feeling super disconnected and terrible, has become so familiar for them that they don't even remember what normal feels like. And there's something in their mind that tells them that because they can't remember what normal feels like, that means that they'll never feel normal again. But what I tell my clients and what I'll tell you is it doesn't matter how long that you've been stuck in fight, flight, freeze. Once we do things that communicate safety to your nervous system long enough, you will go back into what's called your social engagement system. It's the ventral vagal branch of the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's what's going to make you feel calm, connected, and normal again, right? There's only two settings in your nervous system. There's fight, flight, freeze response, which are threat responses. And then once your brain perceives safety, there's your social engagement system. So what you call normal is really simply a time whenever your brain was perceiving safety and your body wasn't going into full-blown fight, flight, freeze response. And you were in what's called your social engagement system. You feel safely embodied. You feel connected to your environment. You can easily concentrate, full access to the prefrontal cortex. You feel curious, adventurous. You feel just calm and able to easily socially engage. All these things that you want are part of your social engagement system. But the reason why that's not online right now is because your brain is perceiving so much threat because there's so much stress and tension and emotion and fatigue in your body. And there's all kinds of sensory triggers that have been building up for a very, very long time that your brain is perceiving too much threat to let you be in your social engagement system. And so that's why when I'm working with a client, we need to focus on doing things that communicate safety. And I always say it's the core four: self-regulation, releasing the tension, adrenaline, and emotion from the body; co-regulation, that's 45% of healing. Someone that is working with you that can create a sense of hope, validate your experience, and really guide you through the process of self-regulation. The third thing is exposure, facing your sensory triggers. And the fourth thing is getting the right information, believe it or not. Getting the right neuroscience, a 21st century understanding of what's going on, strips away fear from the symptoms. It also strips away shame from the symptoms, and it strips away obsession with the symptoms, because you realize that they're not the problem. The problem is that you are in a threat response when there is no threat. Your body is preparing for a threat that isn't there. Right. And so that's why we don't need to do just a bunch of random positive activities. We need to do things that are going to communicate safety to the nervous system. But anyway, with that being said, see your nervous system is like a light switch. You've got one switch, which is, let's say, the on switch: fight, flight, freeze response. Your body's preparing to fight, flight, or freeze. Once we communicate safety, there's only one other position for the light switch to go to, which is off. And once fight, flight, freeze response are shut off, your social engagement system is turned on, and you will feel calm, connected, and normal again, even if it's been decades. I work with people all the time that it has been so many years since they have felt connected, to the point that they don't even remember. And it doesn't matter. And by the way, the reason why it's taken them that long is not because it's taken them that long. The reason why it's taken them that long to recover is not because it takes that long to recover. It's because they haven't been doing things and also working with somebody that can communicate safety. They've been talking about their symptoms. They've been trying to accept their symptoms. They've been trying to distract away from their symptoms. They've been doing random positive activities, and this is not their fault. Our mental health and medical system, when it comes to DPDR, is completely broken. Not saying there's not some help out there, but overall it's broken, and people are not getting the help that they need, and they get caught in this vicious cycle that I see every day, and I've seen it every day for 6 years, and I help people come out of it. I was able to come out of it, and I believe that you can too, but it's not going to be with those strategies that we just talked about. It has to be the things that we know communicates safety, which are the core four. Okay, that is it. I do have to go. I just got a text message I got to respond to. Hope this encouraged you. I'm going to keep responding to comments, and smash the like button if this helped you. I'll keep doing these, and I'll leave this up to you guys. If you guys respond to these videos, comment, like them, and just, show me that you're liking them, and I'll keep doing them. I'm trying out some new ideas. The other day I did a video where I was recording myself giving some encouragement to a client who's having a huge, down moment in her recovery after an up moment. And it seems like you guys really like that. So I'll do more of that. If you like this, I'll do more. So anyway, I'm here because of you guys. This has always been just to, help you guys however I can. And so I'll just keep trying stuff out. And if you guys like it, we'll keep going, and keep commenting. I'll keep responding. And then also let me know if you like this idea below. And you guys are amazing. We'll talk to you real soon.